started with some core work. If you have a band, great, use the band. If not, the cues will be the same. You'll just have less resistance, which is fine. When we're ready, we take those bands around the ankles. Not too resistant with the band. Even this is probably a little thick, but we'll see what we can do. Then when you're ready, coming down to that mat. Now we need to keep those ankles, knees and hips in alignment. So from here, outward pressure through the legs as well. And then we're just going to step one leg up. Hip flexors are working pretty hard here. Again, don't let that leg become centered as we lift. Just a small little march here. If you can, hands on those pubic bones at least now and then. Let's try and keep them level. And we'll go for another 6. And 4. 3. 2. And 1. Progressions here. So we're going to start with that torso down. We'll bring in flexion later on. From here, let's step those knees into tabletop. So knees are over those hips. Try and keep them there. As we start to add on from here, there needs to be constant pressure of that knee staying over the hip. This movement is going to try and drag them away. Leave the opposite knee over the hip. Then from here, just the legs for now. Let's extend that right leg away. Try and stay in line with those hips. And back to center. Alternating slides, again, downward pressure as well as pulling it in towards that hip line. Let's go for another 8. And 6. Rest at any point as well. Hip flexors do a fair bit of work here. And then try and remember not to let that tummy dome, especially as we start to add on. And 2. And last one there. Then from here, adding in the arms, there's a couple of variations to do this. We're still not going to add in flexion just yet. We're going to move same sides here. So right arm and right leg, both going to extend away. So nice and long through the leg and the arm. Take a good pause and back to center. Changing sides. So again, it's not just reaching with the arm and letting the elbow bend. It's extending, reaching nice and long. Back to center. Try and keep that opposite side knee over the hip. And another 8 here. Don't worry too much about what the band is doing either, unless it's painful. Otherwise, if it rolls, that's fine. The little bit of outward pressure though will help that. And 4. 3. 2. And last one there. Take a little bit of rest here before we add in that curl as well. Let those hip flexors relax. Now from here, make sure you don't let that tummy dome. So that's the main focus we're going to think about here. Let's step those legs back into tabletop. Then from here, start with the arms above the chest. Inhale that T-zone tight, draw everything in. And then exhale, curling forward. We're up nice and high. Try and maintain that throughout. From here, again, take those hands through to the knees. Then from here, that right side, extending through both. Take a pause, back to center, and again, extend. Try and draw tummy in. If you try and talk, it will not be very pleasant. Let's go for another 6. And 4. 2. And last one. All the way back down. We'll get rid of that band for the time being. Then from here, as we start to move into these straight leg movements, if your lower back takes over at all, make sure you stay higher up in the range. So the lower you go, the more that lower back wants to switch on. From here, we'll step both legs up nice and tall. Long legs, if you've got tight hamstrings, you probably won't get no bend on the knees, that's fine. From here, if you've got the room, you can have arms out to the side. Otherwise, just down into the ground, we'll go alternating leg lowers. So from here, draw that T-zone in nice and tight. Inhale, T-zone tight. Exhale, lower down. Nice straight legs for as long as you can. If you feel that lower back change position and you feel it take over, again, the range can be as small as you need it to. But try to come nice and high every time. And let's go for 8. Again, breathing pattern isn't too relevant here. The exhale can either help you bring the leg back up or it can help you lower it down. 3, 2, and 1. Then from here, we'll give those hip flexors a bit of a rest because we're going to add in our double legs in a second here. Again, circle them around if you like. You can reverse directions. Make sure you get that bit of a pull in towards the chest. Then from here, you can keep a bend in the knees for this one if you need to, or again, stay up higher rather than that lower half of the range. Then from here, straight legs. From here, inhale that T-zone tight. Make sure that tummy doesn't start to dome. And we're going to lower those legs down. Exhale to return. Slow on the negative, nice and quick on the way back up. Stay there if you like, otherwise, let's add in that flexion and again, lowering down towards the ground. Use that breath to come back. Keep that chin tucked in slightly, nice and long through the back of that neck. And we'll go for 5, 4, 3, 2, and last one. Beautiful. Hug those legs in towards the chest or let them come back down towards the mat, whichever you prefer. And then from here, we'll be rolling onto our tummy, for a second here for a bit of back work. Again, we're going to break these up into sections and then eventually move on to the whole move. So from here, our Superman variations, first part, upper body. We're going to try and leave the glutes fairly inactive, so don't squeeze them if you can avoid it. And then all of that leg stays in contact with the ground. From here, we'll take those arms nice and long. Again, actively reaching, not bending at the elbows. Eye line can stay down to begin with, and then as you start to get more lift, it might have to come along slightly. From here, inhale that T-zone tight. Relax the legs. Exhale, let's lift that upper body. And all the way back down. A little pause at the top every time. And lift. Again, remember we're trying to reach through to those fingertips. And we'll go for another 5, 4. We're also drawing that tummy in. So if you're feeling that tummy really pressed to the ground, let's try and draw it into that rib cage. And 2. And last one. Take that pause there. For the legs here, you can either just take that forehead down to those hands, or if you like, just hold it neutral, whatever you prefer. Just the legs now. So rather than going heels together, we're still going to keep them out nice and long. And then from here, squeeze the glutes first, and then let's lift all the way through to those knees, hopefully coming off that ground. And lift, take a pause, and back down. Try not to let the legs flare too far out to the sides. If you can keep them together, great. We'll get a little more glute and lower back activation there. And 6. For 4. 3. And last one. And then we're going to join them together. Not a big hold at the moment, we're just going to go through the movement. So from here, we draw that tummy in, so in towards the rib cage, and then we're going to lift both the arms and legs at the same time. From here, inhale, T-zone tight, and exhale, let's lift and reach. Take a pause, and all the way back down. Make sure your lower back isn't switching on here except for activation. So if it's pain, stay a little lower into the range. Again, glutes first. Now let's lift, and all the way back down. Let's go for 5, then we're going to add on. And 3, 2. Last one, we're going to hold it up there. Then from here, we're going to take those elbows in towards that rib cage and extend away. So that chest will rise, and then it will lift, lower slightly. And 6. Big squeeze, we're not just bending, we're squeezing in towards the ribs. And 3, 2, and last one, hold it there if we can. Then from here, let's extend and add in just a small rock. And rest there. Back to our back. Then from here, our roll downs, we're not using any momentum at all. So on the way down, all the way up. From here, sit up tall first. We'll take the arms away. Now we're going to sit into that C curve. And nice and slowly, for as long as you can without any momentum. All the way down if you can. Then from here, on the way up, we're again not going to use momentum. For the first one, you'll have to use it maybe to get back up for the second bit. Inhale that T-zone tight. Exhale, try not to use any momentum. Let's come all the way up. Now if you didn't get up, that's fine. On this next one, now you can swing those arms to come back up and start our next rep. Again, sit up tall first. Now we'll find that C curve. And nice and slowly, rolling all the way back down. From here, arms above the chest. Inhale, T-zone tight. Exhale, let's not use that momentum. Ideally, the feet stay planted, but if you get that little bit of raising, that's fine. And again, next one there. Let's go for another 2. Inhale that T-zone tight. And exhale, curling forward. Try and keep the feet planted. I had a little bit of momentum there, try not to use it. I'm also speaking, it makes it a little bit harder. Last one. This time we're going to stay down. Beautiful. Then from here, we'll step those legs back into tabletop. Working off that same principle we're working on before, extension of those legs. Let's take those arms above the chest, curling forward into that flexion nice and high. Let's leave the arms by the hips there. Then from here, both legs will extend away and bend back into that hip line. Doesn't need to come any further than that hip line. Let's try and keep shoulders high. And 5, 4. Notice my quads are also switching on as I extend away. It's very active. For 3, 2, and last one. Then from here, take those arms from the hips overhead if you can, as long as that lower back is fine. And hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All the way back down. Again, take that little break there. Let those hip flexors release if they're switching on. Beautiful. Next one's more about movement. Won't be quite as challenging as those last ones here. Again, we're going to extend those legs. And from here, use that hamstring as a bit of a pull here. We're going to pull it in towards the chest for 2. And switch. Again, straight legs, try and make it nice and active. That exhale pulse for 2. And 6. We're holding that flexion nice and high still, don't let it drop down. 3, 2, and last one there. Beautiful. All the way back down. Just let those feet come back for a second there. Last little bit we'll do here. Our planks, variations of it. If you have to plank from your knees, that's fine. If you want to go from your toes, that's fine as well. Break the sets up as you need. First one here, either hands or elbows, whichever you prefer. I personally prefer hands, but it's up to you. If you're going from those toes, great. Let's step them nice and long. Then from here, we're not letting those shoulders sink. We're pressing up, glutes are on, holding those hips in line with the shoulders, and just the hold for now. We'll add on in a second. Breathing through, again, pressing up nice and tall. Let's go for another 10 seconds or thereabouts. And 5, 3, 2, and 1, and all the way back down. As we start to add on, you don't need to take these options, it's just a challenge. Don't let your form suffer. So if you can't hold the plank whilst adding these on, just go for the plank hold instead. From here, again, same setup. From here, let's go knees. So right knee is going to come across the body. Then it's going to come to that far elbow. Step back down, and left knee. Cross the body, long, and towards the elbow. We're not letting those hips turn around. They're staying square. Through, elbow, through, and elbow. Let's go for another 4. So again, right knee across the body. Tap that elbow if you can. Doesn't have to go all the way to there. Any range that you've got is fine. But again, hips are staying square. Don't let them open out. And we've got another 2 here. Across and to that elbow. Last one. And to that elbow. Take that bit of a rest. Sitting back on those heels, really actively reaching with those fingertips there. And a couple of deep breaths. Last one here. We won't be able to hold them for very long. You're not meant to be able to hold them for very long, so a couple of seconds. If it's too much for you, choose one, elbow or leg. This one will be done from the elbows. So again, find that plank first. Then from here, opposite side. So right arm, left leg. Let's extend away. If you can, off the ground. Pause, and back to center. If you're opening out to the sides, don't bother with it, just hold. Again, left arm, right leg, extend, hold just for a second, and back to center. Let's go for another 4 progressions. You can slide the arm, keep it on the ground. You can just do arm, or just leg. And last one, and all the way back down. Lots of hip flexor work there. So from here, let's let them release slightly. Take that downward dog, pressing that chest through and hips nice and high. Then from here, step your left leg through. And then try not to sit onto your left hand side. Let's stay centered and press the weight through to release into that hip there, as well as that glute. We'll change that position in a second. To get more out of that, we can lower down there as well. And then through that back hip now, so that hip flexor that did a lot of work, let's lift up and open through that hip. Try and switch that right glute on as well. It'll help open that hip up. Couple more deep breaths there. And changing sides. Again, through that downward dog first. Let that stretch happen there. And then we'll step that right leg through. Forgot to say on the other side, but ideally we're getting that shin almost parallel, depending on your mobility. We start to walk that ankle up higher. Then from here, not sitting on our right glute, we're going to stay fairly centered and just lower the weight down. So glute and hip first, lowering down if you can to get a little more out of that. Then from here, for that back hip flexor, lift up, stay central if you can, left glute on, and we'll press that hip forward. Again, hip flexors here, let it open up, couple of deep breaths. Another 2 here. And easing out of that. As a fairly advanced core series there, mixing in gymnastics as well as strength work, and of course our Pilates.